Many of the prophecies in the Old Testament are so specific and so detailed that it bothers learned men and scholars who are seeking their own glory and their own exaltation. And therefore, these prophets, these Old Testament prophecies, are oftentimes attacked and scrutinized because of the specificity that exists within them and how indeed Jesus Christ fulfilled them to a T. Take, for example, the book of Isaiah. In Isaiah chapter 53, we see Isaiah giving very detailed descriptions as to what would take place regarding the trial of Jesus prior to his death, and then what would take place regarding his burial. In Isaiah 53, beginning in verse 7, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. Isaiah points out that when Jesus is tried, when Jesus is being put to death and slaughtered, that he's not going to defend himself. He's not going to respond in giving some type of explanation as to why it is he's doing what he's doing, but rather he's going to be silent. Then we see Isaiah going on in verse 9, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. Well, we see the fulfillment of this being carried out in the life and in the death of Jesus. In Mark chapter 15, beginning at verse 3, we read the following, "And the chief priests accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. And Pilate asked him again, saying, Answerest thou nothing? Behold how many things they witness against thee. But Jesus yet answered nothing, so that Pilate marveled." See, Pilate is surprised. He's shocked. Why is Jesus not defending himself? They're saying all these accusations against Jesus, and he's not saying a word, just as Isaiah had prophesied. And then we see later on in the chapter, beginning in verse 42, "And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, an honorable counselor, which also waited for the kingdom of God, came and went in boldly unto Pilate, and craved the body of Jesus. And Pilate marveled if he were already dead. And calling unto him the centurion, he asked him whether he had been any while dead. And when he knew it of the centurion, he gave the body to Joseph. And he bought fine linen, and took him down, and wrapped him in the linen, and laid him in a sepulchre, which was hewn out of a rock, and rolled a stone unto the door of the sepulchre." See, back then, those who were buried in such a gravesite, those who had linen and fine linen and being wrapped and so forth, were only those who had wealth, those who had riches. And so Joseph had the riches to do such a thing. And so he desired the body of Jesus so that he might give him an honorable burial. Just as Isaiah had prophesied in Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 9, that with the rich, his death, with the rich, Jesus then was buried. Jesus Christ is all throughout the Old Testament. And it is these type of prophecies that we find in the book of Isaiah as well as throughout the Old Testament, where detailed descriptions are given concerning Jesus, his work, his life, his ministry, details regarding his death and even his burial, that we can know that Jesus Christ of the New Testament is the Messiah that the Old Testament prophets were pointing to.